Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 1778. The topic is training and the title is Finding the Right Eccentric Speed for Strength Lifts. So I have a client who I'm helping do a powerlifting competition, and one of the concepts that we've been working on is eccentric speed. Now, we've actually found that he moves too quickly. Now, this actually is interesting because that can be very variable per person. It depends on their lifting background. If somebody has like kind of a sports background, they tend to be explosive, they tend to be fast, and sometimes I have to slow them down. If somebody has more of a bodybuilding background, they tend to be very slow, and I have to kind of speed them up. So for some people, the eccentric speed will be too slow. For others, it'll be too fast. What I want to talk about today is how do we know and how do we find the right eccentric speed for you? So for example, this client was recently going through some bench press changes. We've been changing his body positioning, his setup. We changed his hand width, and he's crazy strong, crazy strong. Squats and deadlifts well over 600. He's going to be in the 700s in no time, but the bench is struggling. Part of that has been just awareness of positions and trying to find the right pathways, building up more strength in tissues in his upper body, but also finding the right bar path and finding the right eccentric speed. Recently in his programming, we added slowed eccentric variation of bench press. So on his second bench press day, he actually lowers the bar with a 5-count speed. So he would unrack when he starts to bend his elbows. The whole eccentric speed is 5 count. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then it touches his chest and he tries to drive it back up. It goes into the next rep. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Touches his chest and he drives it back up. So you can hear how slow and how long that would feel to be under the bar, having it lowering down towards you for 5 seconds, having it lowering down for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then finally it touches you. You probably feel like you're going to die, but you get to drive it back up. What he found was the addition of the slow to eccentric variation really helped him find his bracing and his position in the bench press, and his strength is through the roof right now. We're blowing up some weights, so I'm very excited for him. He's going to be competing here in December, and I think we already hit a squat PR. He's going to destroy his deadlift, and he's definitely going to destroy his bench press. So the eccentric speed, having him experience the really slowed eccentric, helped a lot, because not only did he have more awareness of bracing and tightnesses, but it also helped kind of redefine how he was thinking that eccentric speed should be used. Often, people think the faster the better on eccentric speed. You know, if I drop down, I'll explode back up, or I'll bounce back up out of a muscle stretch reflex. But that actually can be too fast. There is a too fast to that process. And what tends to happen when you're going too fast is that a lot of these smaller stabilizing muscles, a lot of the muscles that create torque within the joints, like if we think of on a squat, on the way down, you want to be externally rotating the knees using your glute muscles, and that's going to create torque in the hips, which is going to keep the glutes engaged. It's going to give you a lot of stability and support through your hip bones, and that's going to protect your lower back a lot. So if you drop too fast, the knees are going to cave. You're going to way overload the quads and lower back, and the whole technique is going to go to crap, basically. So you have to go slow enough to maintain that external rotation in the glutes, that torque buildup within the joints. And that you can see that in the squat, you can see it in the bench press. There's a little bit of how you would set up in deadlifts, which I'll talk about for both conventional and sumo, that are related to this concept. But the speed of eccentrics isn't the faster the better. The speed of eccentrics is the fastest while controlled, the better. So an example of that would be, for example, squats. On the eccentric, if you go down too fast, say you just kind of dive bomb, you drop to the bottom, what you'll find is that you're not going to be able to maintain mental awareness of externally rotating the knees during that drop. Your knees may stay on the way down above your feet. Like if you think of a vertical line above your feet, they may stay there, but likely as soon as you hit the bottom and start to come up, they're going to cave, or they're going to like really drop in, and that is a huge negative. Definitely not going to be the best pathway for 99.9% of people. Most people, that's going to risk a lot of hip pain over time. That's going to risk a lot of imbalance, muscular imbalance. It's going to risk a lot of quad dominance, lower back stress. It's just not going to be a good recipe. So when we drop too fast, you're not going to be able to maintain that external rotation of the glutes. You're going to lose stretch tension in the glutes, and they won't even be really in proper position to be activated to help you drive upward out of the bottom. You can't just turn them on at the bottom. You have to be kind of building that tension up and turning them on as you go down. Also, in a squat is when you hit parallel and you start to transition from an eccentric into the ascent, the concentric on the way up, the bar will always have a force that's going to feel like it's pushing you forward. Like as soon as you hit the bottom, somebody just kind of pushed you right in the back. And you're going to notice that if you film yourself from the side, your bar path will go down, it'll jolt forward, and then you're going to have to push the bar back. That is not ideal. That will not lead you to be your best. You want that bar path to be straight down, straight up. And by dropping too fast without having that stabilization and that support by the torque muscles around the joints, that bar push at the bottom is going to be very aggressive, and it's going to be very hard to counter that push. Also, you're not going to have any muscular contractional force coming out of the bottom. What you'll notice is if you drop, you just drop, you hit bottom, you bounce up, and then within like say 3 to 6 inches or so, there's this dead spot where you fail your squat. So you bounce up 3 to 6 inches, then you die, and you need to be saved. That is all examples of an uncontrolled eccentric speed. So what we want to do instead is we want to go down at a speed in which we can maintain mental awareness and continual increasing tension of external rotation within the hips. At the start of the squat, you want to rotate the knees out to maintain vertically above the feet. And then as you descend, you have to actually increase that force more and more and more to maintain the knees above the heels, above the feet. And ideally, at the bottom of the squat, the knees are above your feet, and you are externally rotating your knees out with your glutes so freaking hard that the glutes are absolutely engaged. What that does is not only does that help protect the lower back, help protect your hips, but it also ensures now that your glutes are engaged. You're going to have a better balance probably at midfoot to heel pressure, and you're going to get better glute involvement on the drive back up. So that's going to take away that lower back quad dominance issues. Also, with the glutes engaged, you're going to have better muscular control to fight that push forward of the bar. The bar will not be able to jolt you forward coming out of the bottom if you have better engagement of your glutes. Then, also, it allows you to pair the stretch reflex force with a muscular contraction force, and now you can drive up out of the bottom so much stronger that you'll have strength to push through that kind of dead spot that's 3 to 6 inches above the parallel portion of a squat. So it's going to be extremely helpful to have control on the eccentric speed of your squat. Now, how do you do that? How do you learn what's the right speed for you? Well, there are two variations of what is called slowed eccentrics. Now, sometimes people, in order to learn positions, they'll do paused lifts. Like, so you pause at the bottom of a squat, you pause at the bottom of a bench press. I'll use that in variations, but for other reasons. For this benefit, for this reason, I like to have the person moving while feeling that tensional buildup, because that's important to build the torque. So if they just get to the bottom and then pause, it doesn't ensure that they've actually built that torque up on the way down. So instead of a paused version with normal speed eccentrics, we want to do slowed eccentric variations. You can do this in two different ways. There's consistent speed per rep, or there's variable speed per rep. So consistent speed per rep is you might have week 1, maybe do 5 sets of 5 reps with a 5 count eccentric. So that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you do 5 sets of 5. Then maybe week 2, you do 5 sets of 5 with a 4 count eccentric. So 4, 3, 2, 1. Little bit shorter, so it's going to help you add a little bit of weight. Maybe week 3, you do 5 by 5 with a 3 count. Then week 4, you try 5 by 5 with a 2 count. So 1, 2. But the idea of it is through the variations of speeds over the weeks, you're going to find, hey, you know, a 3 count worked best, or a 4 count felt really slow, but I really identified with the feelings I should have, and now can I maintain those feelings while moving in a 3 count, and then can I maintain those feelings while moving in a 2 count? So eventually you want to be able to get your eccentric speed faster, but always feeling those torque feelings, those build-up feelings that you want to have in the lifts. And I'm going to explain what they should be in a second. The other variation is to do variable speed per rep. So maybe rep 1, you have a 5 count, rep 2 is a 3 count, and then reps 3 plus, you try to move as quick as you can while still feeling the torque and tension buildup that you had in reps 1 and 2. So rep 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, explode to the top. Rep 2, 3, 2, 1, explode to the top. Then reps 3 plus, you go down while trying to feel the same torque build up, but faster and faster and faster and faster. If you start to lose that torque, if you start to lose that tensional buildup, then you know you're going too fast, and that's how you start to find what your best eccentric speed is. Now, those are the techniques that I would recommend you try. If you're new to this stuff, I would definitely do the consistent speed per rep. So week 1 is a 5 count, week 2 is a 4 count, week 3 is a 3 count, week 4 is a 2 count. That's a good way, just because it's less things going on in your head. You get a better chance to kind of find and feel what you should be feeling during the lift. As you get practiced with that, then you can switch over to the variable speed per rep, and that helps you kind of then practice it, but now you're not as nervous about trying to catch all the cues at the same time. Now, last things, what should you look for, or what should you be feeling during the lifts? Very quick list, I just listed 3 things per lift. But squats, you want to feel increasing external rotational force in the hips. Now, your knees don't need to go wider than your feet, but we do need them to be at least as wide as your feet. So as you start down the squat, maintain externally rotating your knees, kind of twisting the knees out through external rotation in the hips to maintain the knees above the heels. You can video yourself from the front to make sure that they stay above your feet on the way down and they stay above your feet on the way up. That's going to help you be more visually aware of what's happening with the external rotation as you also search to find those feelings. The second thing you want to look for is heel pressure. You can film yourself from the side and focus exactly on your feet. Actually, you can point the camera down, focus on your feet, and make sure that as you descend through the squat all the way to the bottom, that the heels never lift up off the floor. Okay? Third thing is bar path. We want that bar path to be straight down, straight up. What we want to fight against is that push of the bar at the very bottom, where it tends to come straight down, get jolted forward, and then you have to push the bar back. We don't want to have to fight horizontal forces while also fighting vertical forces, so we want that bar path to be straight up and down. Now in the bench press, what you can want to focus on is as you're lowering the bar, can you feel your shoulder blades squeezing together like you're trying to squeeze your lower trapezius? So you can go onto YouTube, look up the muscle trapezius, 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 and see what that function is. What you want is the scapula, the shoulder blades, to be squeezed together, like you're trying to pinch something between your shoulder blades. You want to be able to maintain that feeling the whole way throughout the eccentric. So you're going to focus on feeling that feeling. You're also going to focus on pushing your chest up into the bar, which you'll also feel kind of does the same thing as that mid-back tightness, but it's a good thing to think of actively doing, is you're squeezing the mid-back, you're shoving your chest up into the bar, and that's going to maintain great kind of thoracic positioning in the bench press. And then you also want to focus on an explosion off the chest, not a bounce. We don't want to come down and just bounce the bar off the chest. You want to set the bar on the chest and then drive and explode right from the bottom. Deadlifts. Conventional deadlift, what you want to look for is a push through the floor. You are not pulling the bar off the floor with your lower back. You're pushing the bar off the floor with your legs. You want to think of it as a leg press. So if you were to film somebody doing a leg press and then turn that video sideways, that's the start of a conventional deadlift, is they're pushing the platform away from the bar. So in a leg press, you're pushing the feet, the platform, away from you, right? If you take that, turn it sideways, and now the video looks like you pushing the floor away, that's what a conventional deadlift should be. That's the start of a conventional deadlift, to get the bar from the floor up to your knees. Once the bar is at your knees, you want to think of a hip thrust. You want to try to squeeze your butt, squeeze your glutes to drive your hips into the bar. A conventional deadlift lockout should feel like a glute and quad squeeze, not a lower back contraction. Then for deadlifts for sumo, you want to do what's called pulling slack out of the bar. Check that out on YouTube. Just write like deadlift slack or deadlift tightness and you'll find that. But you want to be pulling up on the bar. Then as you pull up on the bar to get your tension set. Now this is tricky. You're going to have to watch a video because you shouldn't be bending your arms at all. It's actually a straight arms, and then you're creating tensional, like pulling slack out by uprighting your torso, by trying to bring your chest up, which is going to help you pull your hips in close to the bar. So you want to maintain that torso up correction of the slack in the bar as you're driving your hips into the bar, externally rotating the knees to get your hips as close as you can to the bar. And then to start the deadlift from the floor, you want to focus on getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter in tension and pulling the slack out so damn much that the bar just comes off the floor. In conventional deadlift, we tend to think of an explosive push through the floor. In sumo deadlifts, it's not explosive. You want to think of getting tighter, 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 so damn tight that the bar starts to come off the floor, and then you would push with your legs. Okay. So, that's a lot of information, but hopefully it was helpful. Again, with eccentric speed, it's not the faster the better. It's the fastest while controlled the better. And in order to find the right eccentric speed for you, you want to do slowed eccentric variations, consistent speeds per rep, or variable speeds per rep. But that is a great technique that you can use to learn how to feel the right feelings when you're doing an eccentric phase of a lift. And that's going to help you get a lot stronger, be a lot safer. Awesome. Well, if you want any help, if you have any questions or anything, you can always reach out or email us, brutalirongym@gmail.com. If you want any coaching help, I do one-on-one coaching. That's my thing. That's what I love to do. All my clients have journals. They send me videos every week. I send responses. I really love it. You can learn more about the services that we have for nutrition only or nutrition and training on our website, www.brutalirongym.com. If you like the podcast, please share the podcast. If you like the podcast, please consider donating to support the podcast, which you can do on our website. Also, if you like the information we share in the podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. You can find us and follow us on Instagram and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Gym. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.